What's poppin', everyone? This is SaberWolf94, and I know it's been a while, but it's finally uh, deck profile time. Yeah, I finally have a deck that I think, well, I have many decks, but I only like to show decks that I know that at least they can put in work. And this is one of them. It's not something that people haven't seen, but I'm gonna give my 2 cents on it. This is a darkness deck, basically, uh, and the focus is mainly on these two legendary cards at this point. The Yveltal EX, the big one, and the small Yveltal EX, the basic one, which isn't very small, it's just, you know, to distinguish it from Yveltal EX. So these two cards have been around for a long time. It seems that like just a couple of years ago that these cards have been released, but it's already four. And they've allowed them to stick around for this long, and I'm not really sure if this is a good idea or not. I mean, I like it because I like using these guys great, and I'm sure many people feel the same way. But, they're kind of always relevant, and possibly, I don't want to say discourages you from playing other shit, but, it's always a very good, a reliable option. They're not going to stick around for, I mean, forever. They probably have only 1 year maybe, but I digress. Okay. So let's talk about these two cards for a minute. Okay, so you have Yveltal EX, Darkness Pokemon. Pretty good, solid HP for an EX. Uh, Weak to lightning, but also has a resistance to fighting, which is useful. Retreat 2 is decent, I guess, for such a very good Pokemon. It used to not matter at all when we had Dark Cloak, Darkrai, but we don't. So it matters a lot more these days, but this is still a fantastic Pokemon. Evil Ball, it's basically modeled after the X-Ball attack from Mewtwo from Next Destinies, which was a broken Pokemon in its own right. But this one is even stronger. Instead of working with any energy, being requiring two colorless, and like the one that Lugia uses from Ancient Origins more recently, it needs a darkness energy as one of the energy costs. But the plus side is that it does 20 more damage. And this is very good. This is a very powerful attack. So just by attaching two energies, if your opponent doesn't have any energies on them, it's doing 60 for 2 already before add-ons. And this is very good, especially considering the unlimited ceiling this attack can have. You get a bunch of energy on this bad boy, and if your opponent has like one or two, and you're doing shitloads of damage, easily and efficiently, without really any cost. Y Cyclone is also a pretty good attack. You can combine this with one double colorless energy and it's a 2 for 90. And you can move the energy to one of your bench Pokemon, essentially conserving and saving energy, which also make this a very good attack. Okay, so this is the main attacker, even though you only run two, and I'll explain why shortly. But, I mean, even in the past, when I didn't really use any other attackers, two of this guy has been more than enough. You have ways to recycle them too. If you know what you're doing, they're usually enough. You have other Pokemon that do stuff too. If you want to play more, it's perfectly fine. This Pokemon is good. It usually doesn't disappoint no matter what. If you have more, maybe then it's going to be some situations when, he's dead or you have too many, but at the same time, you, you're more consistent this way, always having him around. Okay, so then we have the original, well, not really original, they came in the same set, but I guess the basic Yveltal. This is another fantastic Pokemon. With 130 HP, it's as good, well, it's not as good as it gets. There's things like Zygarde with 140 or 150 HP, I think, but for basic legendary Pokemon, for the basic legendary Pokemon concept, 130 HP is like the amazing standard that you want to hit. Even if I had 120, it would be great, but 130 HP, very good. Same bottom stats to retreat, the fighting resistance, and lightning weakness. And it also has very good attacks in its own right. Oblivion Wing does 1 for 30, and that's already good. is a fast, cheap attack that you can use early. You know, not much thought there. But the bonus is that if you have darkness energies in your discard pile, you get to grab them and attach them to your bench Pokemon. So this is very sweet. This is a very useful Pokemon, not only doing pretty solid damage for cheap, but also getting your energies in play. And it's no wonder this Pokemon has also been fantastic for as long as it's been around. And if you need to do heavy damage, Darkness Blade is also very good. For a basic Pokemon, a 3 energy, 100 base damage attack is pretty good. You flip a coin, of course, and if tails, this Pokemon can attack next turn. But, it doesn't really matter much. It matters more now, like I said, because you don't have that Darkrai combo that you can just retreat and bypass this easily. But you can still bypass this. Um, a good partner for this deck would possibly be Zoroark, but since I'm using other guys, I'm not really running this guy. The Zoroark with the Kill You ability that, if you have a Floatstone on, you have free retreat around the board, basically, if they don't block your abilities. But Darkness Blade, is also good. Um, like I've said, if you flip tails, you won't be able to attack, but it usually gets the job done, if you have to use it. Okay, so for the other Darkness attacker, I decided to run one of my favorite Darkness Pokemon, and that is Honchcrow. Okay, so I've wanted Honchcrow cards to be good for a long time. I mean, I was the most disappointed motherfucker in Mysterious Treasures because that Honchcrow looked so cool, but it just wasn't good. It wasn't good no matter what. And, other Honchcrow cards have been decent, but they never really had that oomph, enough for them to be good. This is one of the better ones. Once again, it doesn't have that, kind of thing that, okay, this Pokemon, I could really use it. I mean, even things like the Stage 1 Swallow is better, I think. But, you can use it. It has the lightning weakness and finding resistance the other guys have, which, isn't a problem, but since we already have a lot of these guys weak to lightning, it would have been good if he was weak to something else, but yeah, there's nothing else that he would be weak to. But yeah, it's not like we have Darkrai and is weak to fighting, and we have that sort of, balance of different attackers. Darkness attackers, but with different weaknesses. So his first attack, Feint attack, 30 damage to one of your opponent's Pokemon. It's a 30 damage snipe, basically. Not affected by weakness, resistance, or any other effects. Pretty standard. Uh, Decent little attack, but because it's a stage 1, I would have liked to do 40, even 50 to be honest. I'm just gonna go ahead and say, well, for, the Pokemon Company may be crazy numbers, but for me, pretty standard if this Pokemon was meant to be good. It should have done 1 for 50, even 1 for 60, stuff like that for it to be, you know, really aggressive. You really feel that this card is good and maybe has at least some sort of potential. But 1 for 30, while still not completely bad, is not that good. You probably won't use this unless you really have to. And I don't know why you would have to. It's just, yeah. Maybe if this guy, you get him out early, he's your early attacker, and you're forced to use this to power up Raven's Claw. But Raven's Claw is the main attack you want to use. So for 2 colorless energy, so you can use 1 double colorless, it does 10 damage, but does 10 more damage for each damage counter on all of your opponent's Pokemon. So this is slightly better than just does 10 more damage for each damage counter on one of your opponent's Pokemon. So even if they try to like switch up their Pokemon or, you know, promote a fresher guy, or maybe if you spread damage, which you'll see in a second, and you spread it on different Pokemon, maybe you have like, okay, I'm gonna put a bunch of damage on this setup Pokemon that you have there that's just sitting there, and it's gonna stay there the whole game probably, and so I can do pretty good damage to your main attackers. And this is basically the best way to use Raven's Claw, in my opinion. You put a bunch of damage on a Pokemon like that, like let's say Tapu Lele, or fuck, I don't know, like Hoopa EX, if anybody plays that still. Um, maybe it is seeing some play in some decks, but yeah. You get a bunch of damage counters, and all of a sudden you're doing good damage. Uh, they need to have like 100 damage or something for you to be doing like 110 for 2, and that's asking a little lot, but in combination with something like this guy, Yveltal and Yveltal EX, um, if they get, a bunch of damage on board, then maybe this Raven's Claw can do some decent damage back. And I guess the bright side to using this than having a bigger emphasis on Yveltal EX is that this is a stage 1 Pokemon that's not an EX. So, it's not going to give 2 prizes. Now, possibly using a Max Elixir strategy and using Breakpoint Darkrai is better, or just using the Dragonair, Darkrai strategy and stuff, and I don't know, like with the new Darkrai GX. That's definitely a much better deck probably, but this is Honchcrow. And it looks cool, has cool art, so I decided to use it. At least try it. Uh, we're using a 3-line. Uh, I think it's enough. It's probably even more than enough, maybe. I don't want it to, might be just, it doesn't give it enough focus. I want this to have more focus on him. And, we have the space, so 3 is a good number. And Markrow, just a 70 basic Pokemon. Whirlwind does 1 for 10. Your opponent switches active Pokemon, one of the bench Pokemon. Okay. So the partner for Honchcrow that helps basically everyone is the Zubat Golbat line. Now we don't have Crobat unfortunately, but this gives us more space in the deck, and 2 damage counters with Sneaky Bite is good enough. I'm running 3. I don't have 4 to run. I probably would if I had them, but I don't. So yeah, but 3 is a good enough number anyway. That's right. So you put a bunch of damage counters and you soften up Pokemon for Yveltal EX. Uh, helps with Honchcrow, of course, is the synergy. Like I've said, you put a bunch of damage counters on Pokemon, and Raven's Claw becomes better and better. And yeah, that's basically it. And actually, the swoop across attack is actually a very good attack. You probably won't attack with the Golbat, but if you have to, it's a great spread attack that does a similar thing to Sneaky Bite. It's going to do 10 damage to each of your opponent's Pokemon. So if they have a big bench, if they have like 5 Pokemon on the bench, you're doing 60 damage total to everybody. And you're spreading damage around with only 1 energy. And this helps with Honchcrow once again. Quite good. Okay, so for our last attackers, uh, Tauros GX. Uh, this is an all-around decent Pokemon. Since I'm running double colorless energy, why not run this guy? This is a good little tech Pokemon. Uh, it's actually a very good Pokemon, very easy to use Pokemon, Functions on 1 double colorless energy. Um, goes to show you how things have changed from back then. You normally wouldn't see a Pokemon with like 3 2 energy attacks, but whatever. You can use Horn Attack as a straight up 64 1/2 attack, and you got your Mad Bull GX attack. Since we don't run GX Pokemon, it's kind of nice to have this guy and maybe utilize the GX concept too, Why not have that advantage? Or actually not have that disadvantage of not having a GX attacker, using a GX attack. Mad Bull GX is obviously very good if you just have like you don't even need that many damage counters for this attack to be very good. And Rage is an all-around very good card. We've seen this on many Pokemon. Okay. And Tapu Lele, this guy is an attacker too. You probably won't attack with him, but I suppose you can. If you get a bunch of energy on him, maybe with Yveltal or just in general. But of course, we're using this as a consistency card mainly. Wonder Tag gets your supporter. Pretty fantastic, especially with the, I don't want to say lack, but I suppose I do have a lack for a lot of cards. And I run my one mime, as I usually do. Okay, so for trainers, I'm running a heavy Ultra Ball line. This can help us get Tapu Lele since there's not really any other reliable way to get them. So consistency, I can grab me just about anything basically since it's Ultra Ball. Yeah, Nest Ball is going to grab our basic Pokemon, just about everybody besides Honchcrow. And it's fair to note that I'm not running Talonflame in this deck. I don't really think it's necessary. You know, we have Tapu Lele. Uh, yeah, I think it's fine the way it is. But I just thought I'd mention that. You know, for other, consistency slash grab attacks, of course, with Ultra Ball, I like playing my Professor's Letters. I love this combo. This is like Yu-Gi-Oh shit, but whatever. You play this, grab my energies, play the Ultra Balls, get the energies in the discard pile while searching at the same time, and setting up for Yveltals. We have Rescue Stretcher and Super Rod. Both of these cards have been fantastic. This card, uh, it can basically function as a Super Rod, but Super Rod can shuffle energies too if you want to. You probably won't most of the time, but yeah, the good thing about this card is that you can have the flexibility. You're mainly using it for the recovery effect to the hand. Grab anything, put it back in the hand. This is pretty good. Very all-around good card. Did I just say very all-around? Anyway, whatever. Okay, so Altar of the Moon and Switch are basically our retreat cards, and Floatstone too. Uh, I do usually run one Floatstone and one Switch in my decks. And even though we don't have Darkrai, we do have Altar of the Moon. So maybe what I said about, Darkrai, it doesn't really matter that much. We can still retreat as we did with Darkrai with this card, you know. Makes anybody that has Darkness or Psychic Energy uh, have 2 less retreat. And it can even work with Tauros GX too, which is great. But I only run one of this card because I do want to run my Reverse Valley. Uh, get the 10 extra damage on board. It's pretty good. It's not like 20 like with Strong Fighting Stadium, whatever the hell it was. Yeah, Fighting Stadium, not Strong Stadium. But, this is pretty good most of the time. Makes the Yveltals even more aggressive than they are. Okay, so for supporters, uh, Bridget. This is pretty good because you can grab GX Pokemon. Now, obviously, you don't want to grab Tapu Lele unless you don't care about using its effect. But, it can grab basic Pokemon, grabs the Markros, Zubats, and the Yveltal, the small one. My 3N, Professor Kukui. I like this guy. Straight up 2 draw and 20 more damage. It can help. And our 4 Sycamores. I decided to go with 4 instead of 3 because, I do want to discard a lot of stuff. Well, not a lot of stuff, energies basically. But, we have the Ultra Balls and we ditch stuff anyway, so, it just works. My 2 Skyla and 1 Choice Band, 1 Fighting Fury Belt. I should have run more Fighting Fury Belt and perhaps even Choice Band, but I only have 1 Choice Band. And when it comes to Fighting Fury Belt, I don't know, maybe I could run 2. I actually should run more. I might even change this. Uh, so feel free to run more. The thing is that the reason why I don't run 4 is because it doesn't work with Honchcrow. And, well, in the rare case, I attack with Golbat. But it's actually fantastic with Pokemon like Yveltal. Fantastic, especially with Tauros GX. It actually helps in a lot of games that would be an auto loss. Like I played some games with they used Tabu Bulu where they do straight up 180 damage, and if I had more Fighting Fury belts and they couldn't get rid of them, it would have made a big difference in the world. For example, they wouldn't be able to kill Taurus GX in one hit, and then I can easily kill him back with Rage if they decide to go through with it. You know, same with Yveltal EX, he's gonna survive, and even though I probably won't kill him back, you know, he is gonna be able to survive at least. This is great with Yveltal 2 and stuff. It's just a shame it doesn't work with, what the fuck, Stage 1 Pokemon and Stage 2 Pokemon. Whatever, anyway. So, for energies, I run 3 double colorless energies. I never usually go overboard with 4, only in very specific situations where when I'm relying on it too much. But in this case, I'm not over relying on Honchcrow. You know, Yveltal is probably still the main attacker in this deck, okay? And because of Yveltal, I usually might even find myself manually attaching the energies to Honchcrow, you know? But 3 is a good number. Instant use with Honchcrow, instant use with Taurus GX, and it gives a little extra damage on Yveltal once you have the Darkness energy on it, and you wanna, you know, push for a one-shot kill or what have you. Pretty good. And the rest is just 10 Darkness energies. So this is the deck. Oh, and before I forget, Field Blower. Yeah, it's not like we rely on our abilities much, if a lot in this deck. Yeah, I'm thinking of Garbodor here, but yeah, this is still good. Gets rid of tools, field spells and stuff. Pretty good. So maybe what I will do is maybe I'll get rid of a Stadium, or I don't know, maybe even an Energy, or maybe even a Skyla, I don't know. Maybe Sycamore, I'm not sure, but get rid of something and maybe add one more fucking Fighting Fury belt. Even Rescue Stretcher, because I used to get by fine when I had Super Rod. Who knows? We don't know. Maybe cut the line of this guy. You know, it's going to give us 2 more spots so we can put Fighting Fury belt and something else. But this is the deck, guys. Like I said, these guys are very good. They have a lot of partners they can work with. They've always been good. For as long as they're going to be around, they're very good choices. I especially think that for beginners, you know, if you want to start playing competitively, maybe not sure what deck to pick up, or, you know, if you can get this deck pretty cheaply, I'm pretty sure you can. This guy is a tin promo. The only reason he's around basically is pretty much because he got reprinted in tins, I think. This got reprinted in one of the sets. I think it was Steam Siege or maybe Fates Collide. I don't think so. Fates Collide or Breakpoint. I think it was Steam Siege, but you know they got reprinted somewhere. This and the basic Xerneas from the original XY base set. But you know this is a good choice for a straight up deck to run if you don't want to think this much. If you know, I don't want to advocate misplaying, but this is a pretty straightforward deck. You know, attack with Yveltal, grab energy with the other Yveltal, and I do recommend it. There's a lot of things you can do with it. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Hopefully my rambling wasn't this annoying, uh, because I'm really passionate about this deck. It's a pretty good deck. I used to love this with Darkrai and Hydreigon Stage 2 back then, but you know, what can you do? You use the cards that we have. It makes the game, uh, you know, fresher with the rotations and stuff. But anyway, hope you guys enjoyed. Hope you subscribe. Hope you like this video. Sharing it with your friends is great. It helps. And what up? What's up, dogs?